Good to see you, and good to have you back. So we're going to run through this conversation, staying with security developments in Nigeria. Yeah, obviously Nigerians have faced a worst challenge in history for a very long time now. We've been battling the insurgency for over 10 years now, and there is a new mix to the whole, equation right now, and that is the activities of the bandits as well as kidnappers. While Nigeria continue to battle all of these from different ends, Nigerians are kind of dissatisfied with how the body language of the government is towards ending the reign of these terror groups. For the Boko Haram, to be more precise, Nigerians have clamored for or called for the service chiefs to be removed and be replaced with new guys who will come in with new strategies and new tactics in dealing with the insurgency. But the body language of the president is one that is telling Nigerians that that would not happen. There's been other options that have been tried over and over again, and now the governor of Borno State is saying we should go back, revisit the aspect of inviting mercenaries to come help in this time to help address the shortfalls in managing the insurgency in Borno State. There are others who have said that the mercenaries came and they were unable to deliver, they fled. So would the call add value to the fight to end an insurgency in northeast Nigeria? Or better still, there are better options we need to, think of it to be able to address the situation in northeast Nigeria. I've been joined by Dr. Lionel Rawlins, Assistant Vice President, Security and Safety at American University of Nigeria here in Yola, to give us some sense about and around the development currently that Nigeria is faced with. A very good morning to you, and it is indeed a big pleasure to have you join us on the program.
Exactly. Bonjour, mademoiselle.
Comment ça va?
Ça va.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien.
Ah, I'm surprised.
Okay.
Well done.
Good to have the program,
to connect with some of those things, isn't it?
That is good. It's good. I was trying to
trick you. You've made it a kind of a ritual that each time you come up here on stage,
but the whole thing is
there is a language that you have to connect with.
The whole thing is we're always in shock because the angle in which he comes out.
It's very shocking. Yes. So yeah, we have a new conversation around the fight against insurgency. Why some would argue that yes, it could work. Others would still say yes, this would not, be very effective in dealing with the problem that we're faced with. Let me have you, share with us your thoughts on what you make of the call by the governor of Borno State, Professor Zulum, that the mercenaries should be invited to come help out in the fight against insurgency. Do you think it's a call in the right direction? And by a good intention?
Yes, it is. It is a great call, and many people have been waiting for this, and many people wanted this to happen for different reasons. Now, the mercenaries, they have a bad name, but sometimes they do really good things. When the President Goodluck Jonathan brought them in, they didn't fled. They were able to set the stage for a free and uninterrupted election. The things died down when they brought in the mercenaries. They came and they did a good job. It is when Buhari came, he got rid of them. He sent them away because they made the army look bad. And he, being a military man, was not going to allow these people to make the military look bad.
Is it a question of making someone look bad, or is it a question of addressing the challenges one is faced with? Which one comes first here?
Well, addressing the challenges is what comes first. Most countries that are in conflict, to include the United States and Great Britain, use mercenaries. I fought with mercenaries in Afghanistan and Iraq. I fought alongside them. This is a mercenary, and who I knew from before, who was in the military. And he got out, went to work for a private military contractor, and now he's fighting next to me, but not as a military, as a mercenary.
Can I halt you here? Give us a sense of who a mercenary is, and why do we need mercenaries to help out in times like this?
Good question. Mercenaries are soldiers of fortune. They are hired guns. They don't care who they fight for. They can fight for you today, and tomorrow they can fight for her. Whoever pays the money, they will fight. It is always a man or woman, usually men, who served in the military and have military skills. Those are the people who can become mercenaries. When they become mercenaries, they give up their loyalty to anything or to anyone. That is the problem. That is where the problem comes in. Because they can fight for you today against her. Next month they can fight for her against you.
It's all about the Benjamin.
It's all about the Benjamin. You know, who has the money, I will fight for. They get paid very well. They can get, you know, the equivalent of 300,000 a day, 300,000 naira. Imagine getting 300,000 naira a day for 3 months. You're doing very, very well. So people, they don't care who pays them as long as they can, they're being paid. The problem is they're not loyal, and that is why people are afraid of them. However, they do get the job done. They are considered better than using the military. It is
Why is this so?
Okay,
Can you just paint a picture for us?
Right. It is not that because they're better trained than the military. It's not that they're more skilled than the military. It just means that they operate under a different set of rules. That is why mercenaries get a bad name, and that is why it is sort of illegal to have private military contractors. And that is why all over the world people shun that. It's kind of wink, wink. I'll hire you, but don't tell anybody you work for me. That sort of thing. When I'm saying that they're better than the military, they get the job done. The military operate under the Geneva Convention, and they must function within the guidelines and the rules of engagement. Mercenary doesn't have to do that. They will go in and just break down all the trees, blow up all the buildings, kill everyone until they get the mission
If we equate
accomplished.
it with the Boko Haram terrorists who do not operate under the Geneva Convention, so they are one and the same, isn't it, in terms of putting them on the scale?
They're one of the same. A mercenary is an assassin, and it can be a terrorist, and it can be a freedom fighter. And that is why, too, the Geneva Convention, if you capture a soldier, you must not torture him. You cannot beat him. You must feed him. You must give him all the protection you can, as long as he puts his hands in the air and submit to you. The mercenary doesn't have those kind of protection. When a mercenary is captured, there is nothing in the Geneva Convention that tells you what to do with him, because he is treated and considered a terrorist. He could be a mercenary for you and a terrorist for you. So this is what we have. Now, why is this important to Zulum and what's going on there? Chad brought in mercenaries. They were the Israelis. That is why they were able to beat up Boko Haram a few months ago. Jonathan brought in mercenaries. That is why they were able to finish that job and allow us to have a good, clean, unaffected election. And things went well. If they were to bring in mercenaries right now, foreign mercenaries, you will see a significant difference. I will guarantee you the war will end in 1 month.
But the GSA, one of the GSA said it's not going to go that well because they'll abandon the job that they were paid for and they're not going to execute it rightly. Do you think that statement was right?
No, you don't know what somebody will do. That's like saying if I hire you, you will run away. You will not come to work. No, but the person is basing it on events that has happened before.
He said they were once brought and they also fled.
Not necessarily true. Some of them ran away, but some stayed, many stayed, and that is why the results were there. In 2015, everything came peaceful again, enough for the elections to be held, and Boko Haram went away and regrouped and reorganized. It was the mercenaries that did that. There will be some who will run away, and that is the problem again. With mercenaries, you cannot rely on them. That's the difference between them and a professional army. The army will stay and fight. because they have to. The mercenary can, after about a week, say, you know what, I don't want to have any more of this, I quit.
Can there be any relationship between the mercenary and the army in making sure they curb Boko Haram?
Well, of course, there can be a relationship. They must work together. The mercenaries cannot go alone. You have to inject them within the ranks of the military. But they are trained specialists. Maybe you can say, let's get guys who knows the ground, who knows the land, who knows the topography. You know, they can get guys from Chad. There's a lot of Chadians who have worked as mercenaries in Mali and Burkina Faso and those places. And they know the areas, they know the land. That's who they used up there.
Let's further do an analysis on what is at stake here. The profession of military that has been involved in the fight against insurgency knows that their pride is at stake, their ego is at stake, and they are the instrument of the state used in combating the terrorists. The mercenary, on the other hand, pretty much have very little thing at stake here. He's just here to, serve his interests, which brought him here, which is a contract term that says, I'm going to pay you this for this, to happen. Give us a sense of the value this will add to a war that has lingered for so long. Just so long, over 10 years now, we've been battling with the insurgency. And say, for instance, the government, the authority does agree to say, okay, we're bringing in the mercenaries, and the mercenaries were able to deliver within a short period of time. What would it do? What would this do to the psychology, the psyche of the military going forward in future engagement?
It will boost their psychology. It will boost their morale. Because now you're fighting alongside another soldier, another Marine, a man just like you who understands warfare. And both of us working together in unison, in synergy, to accomplish the same task and mission. I know you've been paid a lot of money to do what you do, but I know between the two of us, we can accomplish the mission. And my job as a regular soldier is to make sure my country stays safe. You don't care what happens, you get your money and you go. You don't care who lives and who dies. The objective is to make Boko Haram go away or reduce the ability to inflict pain on the nation. And if bringing in some people who are very good at what they do, I'm paying them a salary to do it, there's nothing wrong with it. Every country that is in conflict, they do it. The United States do it. We have
but alternatively, Dr. Lionel, wouldn't it be, a bit more within the confines of the law if we are speaking more to the side of having international forces come join hands with the Nigerian army or the Nigerian government to combat the insurgency? Because that will be done within the confines of the law. We just, stated that the mercenaries are individuals who are hired guns. These are persons who are a bit like faceless. Let me just use the term to describe them in that particular manner, because they hold loyalty to nobody.
Exactly.
They can switch, tent whenever they feel it's so convenient for them to switch tent, which would be more preferable. Having international forces or support forces to help you combat Boko Haram, or rely on the mercenaries, which one, proves to be more effective?
Well, the mercenaries will be more effective, because if you hired, let's say, if you ask President Trump to send some Marines, first of all, he has to get permission from the Congress to be able to send troops from the United States to Nigeria to help fight a war in Nigeria. The American people will not allow that, nor the British, nor the Canadians, nor the French, and no one will want to send their people into Africa to help fight a war in Africa.
But they have a significant interest here, isn't it?
They do. But even if they did, they too have to abide by the laws of the Geneva Convention. And we're fighting an unconventional war. So they too, their hands will be tied just as the Nigerian soldiers. So bringing up 500 Marines to fight with the Nigerian soldiers, they too have to abide by the rules of engagement. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't shoot this, you can't shoot that. You must use this weapon, you cannot use that weapon to shoot at Boko Haram. But the mercenaries don't have to follow those rules at
How
all.
come we see UN peacekeepers in Congo and Sudan, but we don't see UN peacekeepers in Nigeria?
Nigeria.
Well,
Is the rules of engagement, tilted towards favoring certain nations and not, taking into account other nations?
no, it's a very good question. The problem here hasn't deteriorated to that extent as yet.
For 10 years?
Yeah, it hasn't. In Congo, more people are affected. In Sierra Leone and Liberia, it was a whole civil war that was going on. The same thing in Congo. If there is a civil war here and the North is fighting against the South or the East against the West, then you will see the blue helmets from the United Nations come in. It was like when the genocide started in Rwanda, they wanted to send in the UN peacekeepers. Some cowardly decision was made and said no, and that's why so many people died. But if they had sent those people in, more lives would have been saved. And I think the world has learned a lesson from that. So right now, if we were in a civil war, the blue helmets, the United Nations will send the people in. But we are not into that situation yet. We haven't this. It looks bad, and it is bad, but it's not that bad yet for the United Nations to send people in.
In speaking to all of this, we saw Professor Zulu also coming up with 6 recommendations that if he thinks if they are put into place, they'll be able to help reduce the insecurity that is blighting happening in Borno State. He began to say there's a need for engagement of youths and also parliamentary services. What do you make of all of these calls?
Well, very good. How many times, for how many years I've been saying the same thing on this program? Maybe Zulum is paying attention to this program. Maybe he watch and listen. Maybe somebody tells him, because for years I've been saying, incorporate either the hunters and vigilantes or youth, get them, hire people, put them in the police, put them in the military, create a new name for them, frontier guardsmen or mountain rangers or whatever name, cute name you want to give them. Train them, give them a stipend, fix them in, give them a uniform, and send them to fight. You will see a significant difference.
Why would we see a significant difference? Are they different from, would their commitment be a bit, different and compared to what the military is committing in the fight against the insurgents?
Well, they're new, they're young, they want to prove themselves. So it's like you get a young football team of youngsters, and you go out and when we say they're hungry. Mm-hmm. They're hungry. They want to be winners. They want to be recognized. So they will go out and they will fight and do their best. I have seen it in Afghanistan. I've seen it in Iraq. I've seen it in different places where you go out and you grab a bunch of young boys. You take them, train them well, equip them with weapons, show them how to weaponize themselves, and do all the things that we need to do, and send them out there to fight, because they want to prove to the world that they are important to the country and to the stake that's in the country. They will go out and really fight.
So what becomes of them after the war?
That is the problem. The demobilization, again, and I think that is why so many people have been afraid to do that. When you mobilize, there come a point where you have to demobilize. When you bring them together, you're going to have to, at some point, break them apart. Well, you can, if you did it well with demobilization in mind, then it can work. I've seen it work before. Or you can keep them in the military or the police, just incorporate them. You don't even need to demobilize them. Just incorporate them. That seems to work better for most people.
Let's speak to how we should see countries around Nigeria synergize in making sure that we fish out some of those Boko Haram extremists hiding out in those places. Talking about Nigeria, talking about Chad and Cameroon. How do we synergize in making sure that we fish out those guys that are relatively on their land?
Well, they need to put aside their egos. There is something going on between those countries, Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad, Niger. There is something with the egos that is preventing them from synergizing. They will synergize, they have big public appearance, they go on TV, they make these big lofty speeches, and then they do nothing. They need to come together and really, really, truly take the fight to the insurgents. And what Zulum said, I'm sure a military advisor probably advised them of this, because I don't think Zulum is a military man and would be able to bring this up in his own head. He's a professor. He's not a fighter. He said, let them focus on the Lake Chad area, which is really truly where they are consumed. They can clean up the Lake Chad area. Let the mercenaries take care of the Sambisa, and let the military take care of the fleeing, the running away, Boko Haram.
Yeah.
That triangle, that triangulation will really bring an end to the problem if they were to listen to what Zulum said. So yes, they must come back together, synergize as a multinational task force, and clean up the Lake Chad area, because that's where a lot of problems taking place.
I think the handwriting is, very visible on the wall. There is a whole lot, to be said concerning commitment towards ending this particular fight, which is the insurgency. We've deployed national domestic strategy in trying to end this war that has failed to end for about 11 years now. And we got to the point that it was also spilling to neighboring countries, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, that a multinational task force, joint task force, was set up, to the point that Chad had to withdraw from that multinational joint task force. And as we speak right now, there's still a whole lot of concern whether that multinational joint task force is even in operations, is in existence, because very little of its impact is felt in this war. And give and take, as we still speak right now, the war is not just only evidently affecting Nigeria, it is also affecting Cameroon, because from time to time you hear of pockets of attacks in Cameroon, as well as other countries like Niger. And all of this is still pointing to the fact that there's a whole lot of very little commitment in addressing, combating this insurgency head-on. Zulum is one person who is in the middle of this whole fight. 3 states initially were under heavy threats of the insurgency, Adamawa, Yobe, as well as Borno State. But the epicenter now happens to be Borno State. And Zulum is the man in Borno State. And he is the good news is he's the chairman Governors Forum Northeast, where they meet, and one of their priority list agenda is ending this insurgency. Well, he gave a 7-point agenda, not just his own recommendations. These recommendations that he sat down and they concluded with other persons. If we to go with the instances that he is making mention of, let's speak about how we can domesticate this issue. I know, yes, there's a whole lot of plus, which you see in having the mercenaries come and do their thing. But there are other reservations that we can still express. Let's talk about synergy. We have the police force, we have the civil defense force, we have the immigration, we have the customs. We have the civilian JTF, which is also a component that has assisted, significantly in the fight to end the insurgency, which also speaks to the call, which is recommending that you should co-opt these young boys into this particular fight. They've been in the fight. It's not a news for us now. Let's talk about synergy. How critical is it for us to develop a more viable synergy within the apparatus of state to work as a team with a single goal, set objective, end this insurgency, and end it using the domestic means?
It is the most needed thing right now. Synergy. If you're not synergized, you're not going to win. I don't care how good you are. It's like if you have a football team, you could have the best, all Messi, Ronaldo, all of those guys on the same team. If they're not playing as together, if they're not playing as one team, they cannot win. No matter how great they are, you need synergy. Now, the problem is, can they do it? And if so, why haven't they? They haven't been able to synergize in a long time. We just did a workshop on synergy about a month ago, which was well attended and well articulated, and everyone agreed that synergy is needed to fix this problem.
Yeah.
I know that here in Adamawa we have Operation Ferrauta, which is doing an incredible job. A lot of people don't know much about them because they're very elusive and you know they work in the dark. They come out when they need to, but they're doing a great job. And it's components of all of these branches of the state security that came together to work. If they can, that is on the micro level. Let's use that on the macro level. Let's use it on a bigger scale, on a bigger stage. Get the army and all of these different, the immigration, customs, civil defense, police, put them together, send them to the Sambisa. They can do it. They can do it, but they must be trained also. Don't just pick up a group of people and put a gun in the hand and send them up there, because it's not a very welcoming place for people.
When you say they can do it, what stake do they have? Looking at the kind of equipment that they also have available, especially in fighting the insurgents, you know the kind of heavy equipment these guys are working with, and we have personnel right here that are still trying to put their hands on equipment they can find in making sure they front these guys.
You know, they need weapons, but what they need more is technology than whether a big gun or big bombs. Technology is what they really truly need. They need drones. They need things that go up in the sky and spy down, infrared, pinpoint and tell me directly and exactly where you are. Then we can launch a bomb attack a mile from 2 miles away and drop a bomb right in the middle of where you're sitting. This is what they need. Now, the kind of war they're fighting, they really truly don't need a lot of weaponry. They need tactical skills, counterterrorism, guerrilla warfare skills.
And that's why we have counterterrorism units in the Nigerian police force, in the Nigerian army. We have them. We have them in the Nigerian Navy, and they've been deploying technology. There's area surveillance. There's the use of drone. All of these are, technologies the military is deploying in the fight against insurgency. So the question is, why are we not gaining grounds? Because
you might not be deploying it well. I can give you all the weapons in the world, but if you're not shooting them well, what difference does it make?
Okay, Dr. Lionel, let's talk about the other side, because it cannot be completely all pluses for the mercenaries, because they have their own other side. We know that these guys are a bunch of investors, persons who are looking for businesses. We oftentimes hear that, yes, when you employ them for certain services, they could go about ending that particular service, but they don't just leave. They always try to leave a mark, which means their business within that particular area of operation would continue. Possibly, say, for instance, they might end this and create another. How much of a concern should we, have relating to that, that kind of action?
Now, that is a major concern, and you're very correct, and I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. A mercenary is not all glory, glory, glory. They also have doom and gloom. Mercenaries are evil people. They're after their own self-interest. They don't care if they were brought into Nigeria. For example, they might be from Russia, the United States, England, France, a bunch of white guys who came here to fight, to clean up the mess. They don't care about Nigeria because they live in America or they live in France. And when the job is over and ended, they go back to France and go back to America. So they don't care what they leave here behind. But what they can do is leave their mark for further. Now, I think you used a term called economic
conflict entrepreneurs.
Yeah. They are conflict entrepreneurs, so they can set it up so that you'll call them back again in a year to put out fires somewhere, and you pay them a lot of money, and they've done that. They can also turn on your government, because if they perceive the government to be weak, another entity could hire them to turn on your government.
So which means they can, evolve to become like cancerous to the system.
Exactly. And they do. They have done it in the past. Maybe that is why so many people are so afraid to use them. But if handled properly, countries that have a very strong military are not afraid to use them.
How proper can they be handled? Because you keep mentioning if they are handled, but how proper can these guys be handled?
A good rules of engagement with them. Now, again, they do not obey rules of engagement.
Okay, which is a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you must follow them. You must be with them. You send your people with them. You send your own special forces with them. And when you see them doing funny things, stepping out of line, getting out of hand, you must act. But even then, again, even like in Afghanistan, we've seen them turn rogue and kill our own people, shoot our own people in the back. So, and it all depends on who you recruit and who you get and where you get them from. It is a difficult balance.
It's just like having a rope tied on a very long height, where balance will be subject to how favorable the wind will be to you, isn't it? It's a very complex situation.
It's like having a crocodile as to guard your house.
To guard your house.
It may eat the intruder, but it may eat you too.
As a professional, Dr. Lionel Rawlins, let's just use a professional opinion, and on the side of caution, what would be your best recommendation? Looking at the number of years that we spent fighting the insurgents and the amount of resources that's been spent and the amount of lives that have been lost and properties destroyed. What would be your best, guide as well as advice, towards resolving this?
Put simply, I'm a trained military man. I've been trained by the best, and I've trained people. And one basic fundamental rule of warfare is you always knock out the center of gravity of the enemy. For example, your center of gravity is your legs. If I were to kick your leg, what would happen? You would fall. If I kick your leg hard enough, you're going to fall.
Sure.
What the Nigerian military or security forces need to do is find the center of gravity of Boko Haram, knock out the center of gravity, and the war will be over. You wouldn't need mercenaries, and you wouldn't need to be having all of these problems with people getting their head cut off. Find the center of gravity, knock out the center of gravity, the war will be over.
All right, so that was a very strong closing term. Thank you so very much, Dr. Lionel Rawlins, for being with us on the program. Always a delight to hear you talk about issues like this.
I'm delighted to be sitting here with this wonderful lady.
Definitely. I know you make such expression, but someone is listening here today.
No, let Tunde go.
Okay, thank you so very much. Well, that's the conversation with Dr. Lionel Rawlins, Assistant Vice President, Security and Safety at the American University of Nigeria, giving us his own perspective on what he made or makes of the demand to have mercenaries become a support force in ending insurgency in Nigeria. A very, 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 very dicey situation. We'll take a break, and then when we come back, take up another interview on the program today.